have some presentations and performances.
Self-help.
Yes, that's Peter.
I'm going to read what His Majesty say I and I concerning self-help. No one is able to overstand someone's problem better than oneself. Self-help. Let I and I set I and I towards why? Let us do. Let I and I demand more of ourselves than we believe we possess. In our efforts to improve the standard of life of our people and the future generation, to flesh out the bones of I and I Rastafari dependence. I and I count on the assistance and support of others. This alone will not suffice, and it alone will only perpetrate I and I dependence. So, since no one is able to understand and solve one's own problem better than oneself, I and I, in the host of Rastafari, have passed the point where prayerful pleading serves any purpose, other than to debase those who thereby abdicate any responsibility or power or influencing of events. From this day forward, I and I cannot depend always on others. Aliyah, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. So for the night, communication relationships, like touching on the base of it is from spirituality. My voice speaker that represent some insight, some upliftment, some information concerning the host of Rastafari and what communication and relationship serves as a topic in our program forward. Aliyah, Selassie. My Lord Doctor, as we said on the first opening night, the nominations that were all put in last night, up to the pass and gathering, has been finalized. There's no more acceptance of nomination. The book is closed. So whoever's there and whatever's there will be ratified, certified, and officified in the days to come, under these nights of reason and the house of Rastafari. If any and all who wasn't present of last night, our chairman informed us on the growth, progress that we have done in a cooperative oneness, dealing with the new problems that we will have to face, and being able to still stand firm with purpose and our principle. Because that alone has stood the test of our time for us to even organize and centralize ourselves from our past experience. Now we have reached the point where through high or low water, this is something that we cannot get around for the sake only for those to come. For our youths, and I opening up the opportunities of them not only being employed, but I being able to to deploy I themselves in identity to achieve that which we should put in place for you. So when do they come of age? They recognize time with nature and space alone is going to be our only evidence of who we were and who we will become. So we don't put in place in time and this space that which is natural that we do for the sake of our future generation, then we will only be appointed to stand on the side and be judged. We just sit and allow it nothing to happen. So it's imperative that we deal with the issues that we have to deal with, face ourselves, more importantly, and strive towards the spirituality that is embedded in us not being able to form that itself. We are not the creators of our own idols. Neither are we the makers of our body. Our body is the temple, the Most High. And so when they see I Father's temple. When we speak the words from the temple of our Father. And he saw that his last act, according to the man's so-called history, time of the coup, Majesty gracefully, humbly, mercifully relinquished the banter. And he did what he had to do for future generations. That them who come after will do the same. Pass the baton on to you. Rastafari. Jah doctrine. Communications, relationships, as it is.
Jah Rastafari. Greetings to one and all. I go by the name Jah Doctrine. And I present tonight on communication. Through the Father, I saw it as, it's just a word, right? But I saw it as something very important for us to figure out. Because in my experience now over the past 2 years, going on 3 years dealing with the house, I mean, if the item could level with me on this and just be straightforward. Check. Level with me straightforward. We have some communication, challenges in communication. But this presentation is actually on effective communication as it relates to conflict resolution. We had a number of conflict resolution meetings over the past 2 years as well. Some more successful than others. So this is obviously something that we want to deal with and that we're going to need to deal with going forward more effectively. Quick question. Ben, the smart one. What's communication? Yeah. Okay, so you say communication, interaction. Anybody else got an opinion on what is communication? And before we go into effective communication and how to apply that to conflict resolution, we want to please figure out what we're dealing with, right? What is communication, then what is effective communication, then we can apply it, right? So, you say interacting. Okay, so I punched on me just now. Is that communication? As interacting? Good point. All right, cool. All right. So, cut a long story short, communication is the transfer of information from one to the next. We ain't going into a bunch of definitions. Europeans do that. They explain a bunch of things we already know. Not really important, right? We already know what communication is and all of these all of these things. But what we want to identify is effective communication now. So when two people communicating like us right now, you have the sender, the receiver, you got some feedback, right? You got to decode the message, you got to figure out what the person's saying, right? The person got to send the message out, right? There's a lot of different things involved in this little simple thing that we call communication before we can figure out how to get the message out. Because each and every one of us that knows Rastafari, what we here to do is spread a message to the world, right? We here to communicate to the world. And we cannot do that effectively amongst ourselves without wanting to choke each other or all these other things. How we can do that to the world? What type of example we setting? See what I'm saying? So leadership comes with a lot of responsibility. And an ineffective leadership will essentially lead to the destruction of what thou are trying to lead. Right? An effective leadership means that what you're trying to lead moves forward. So you could see past little petty issues, right? You could see past personalities and all these individual things that when we go down studying metaphysics, right? Everyone that studies metaphysics, all of us is Rasta. We all know that this thing boils down to energy, right? Frequency, right? So when we get down to energy and frequency, all these little personality things that we're dealing with, in a lot of ways, they seem not to matter. But that's not actually true. Because we have to deal with them, pardon that, I'm moving too far. As an artist, I like to run across the stage. We like to deal with them. We like to deal with these, I lose my train of thought there, but cut a long story short, for us to move forward in the right leadership, we actually have to effectively communicate. And if we cannot move past these personality issues that we face with, that's where we're running into issues, because we all have a personality, characteristics, opinions, beliefs, dislikes, beliefs, everything. And these are things that we could be stumbling on, right? Right? I mean, help me out there. I don't want to be up here by myself just talking to myself. Tell me what we're stumbling on so I can put it in, so I can address it as I go through. What y'all see is our biggest issues this year, past 2 years, in communication? He's gonna have cooking issues, like too much intolerance, positive. Princesses and Benu still, what you be watching TV or something? Okay. Little princess, how you doing? Everything good? Cool. I address it the youth still because I love the youth. And we doing this right here for the youth, you know what I mean? And they watching us, you see. So I saying, so as I move forward now, I like us to break into I think groups of 6. This could be quick, but I ain't gonna be too long. This ain't gonna be boring. You know what I mean? Let's say groups of 6. I counted out, it was like 24 people in there. So that's 4 groups. So I mean, as you see, but let me do it quick then. Priest Blyden, and 1, 2, 3. I want all the youths in one. Well, actually, it's the whole section of youth, so that can wait. Jamal, I don't round off 4, 5. When you go with them, Priest Blyden, round off them 4 and split everybody right here into from a place. Yeah, you prepare, you busy here. If the eye busy, everything good. I want everyone to break into groups. There's 24 people in here. The I am intelligent, we all adults. I shouldn't have to count everybody out and do it like we do in cheering. Good. There should be about 4 groups. I expect to see about 4 groups. They ain't gotta be exact numbers or nothing. So, what I like for one and one is to find out from each person. Because you can reason, right? I want the item to find out from each person in the group what's their favorite place in Africa, their favorite landmark. Some simple things. Retain them. One sec. Partner, your favorite African leader, your favorite African food. You see it? Your favorite African place. Each person should have something like that. Reason amongst one another and find out. So favorite. Go ahead. The most recent play, that's your favorite is change. Your favorite is change. That's your leader. Leader's a bad one. Place. Favorite African place. Favorite African place other than Ethiopia. Because everyone is Ethiopia. Favorite African place other than Ethiopia? And favorite leader other than the king? That's the easiest way. Alright? Other than the king, other than Ethiopia. Okay? Pardon me? Of Africa. Don't tell me. Tell your group members should know that. Shut up.
Wherever Ethiopians is, there's the leader. Get one black man right here. I don't even know where, but black man right here. He's from there. What area?
Another 5 minutes, you know, another 5 minutes.
What?
I know.
That's it.
Our ancestors, our great grandmother, in our own families, well, not all of yourself a leader, within yourself as a leader. Use the spectacles of Africa. Because your great grandpa, a lot of them fought in the war of His Majesty.
We got 1 more minute, wind it down.
They always been born here.
There's a time limit on it. You ready? Okay, everybody ready? Okay, good. I need 4 groups. 4 group volunteers. Just 4 groups. Elijah, can you volunteer in your group? Who's your partner? Okay. It's like 3 groups. I need one adult group. One adult group for good measure. One adult group for good measure. Come on, one adult group, man. You gotta encourage them. Huh? Yeah, we have one adult group, just for good representation. One of the groups. One group or 2. You all need to figure out that. Alright, we can get started and we can, and then as we go. Okay, we can get started. Oh, that's okay, I can call on you all in there. That's alright. Alright guys, okay, could I get the groups? Organize your groups. Okay, hold on. I ain't gotta do the Agua meeting. May I have your attention please? Yes, you may. Okay, may I have your attention please? Good. And spread out in your groups. So everyone can see you. Don't stand in front of anyone. We have enough space. Why you hiding? Okay. Little further. So I can start on this then. This is Ben right here. And Aaliyah. Okay? Ben and Aaliyah. This is the group of Ben and Aaliyah showing their communication. Effective communication. Well, if you don't have an answer, I don't know why you're here. You don't understand what's going on? You're presenting the other person's information that they told you? Yeah, but if y'all can't be orderly, then don't talk to me right now. Just govern yourself and let's keep it settled so we don't lose control. Could I get, who can do the best up here? Could I get those two? Those two that are going to do the best. That's Elijah and Judah? Good. Judah. No, it is Ben, even Judah. That's right, because it was, right?
My brothers are down in Judah's favorite place in Africa is Ethiopia and that's I'm strong. The king, he has grown up. And
South Africa and Nelson Mandela. Toodle.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your help. With a little bit more order, we could have done that faster. So, unfortunately, for those who didn't get to go, it was all a lot of talking. So, give thanks, everybody. That's just a demonstration of exercise on communication, right? You know, everyone does the gossip one, right? Where you tell someone a secret and then the next person tells the next person. So we all been through these things before. These are essentially nothing new, but I do want to introduce something to you that's important for what we're here for. Good. So we have, in terms of communication, we have some things that's called non-verbal communication. Who can identify some non-verbal communication? Some examples of non-verbal communication between, yes, Ken? Sign language. That's a good one. Anybody in their homes, when you just give somebody a certain look, a body posture, a certain movement, they know exactly what you mean? Anybody can express anything like that? Anybody? Yeah? Like something like when we stare at you, you know exactly what mommy meant? A non-verbal communication right there, right? Anybody ever get someone suck their teeth at them? Cut their eye at them? All that is non-verbal communication. And all of those things impact our ability to get the message across effectively. Which is why we are at this point again. So, you know, like I said, for those who just coming up, what this presentation is about is effective communication as it applies to conflict resolution. And we had quite a number, like I said, of conflict resolution meetings over the past 2 years, some more effective than others. And some of the things that I'd like us to have at the tip of our tongues or our minds when we communicate is what things that affect communication, such as, is the message getting across the way I want to do? Am I saying the right words? Am I giving a certain attitude or a certain vibe that's being sent across that I may not realize? Right? Because we see a lot of that happening too. I'm saying yes, but I'm only saying no. Right? Anybody experience things like that? We're using it on something. The situation get a little fiery, right? And what will start happening is we see things like insincerity start creeping in. Because we may not necessarily be discussing things with the goal of getting the best result. We just want to win the argument. So, I guess these are some of the things I want us to keep in mind as we communicate going forward this year. Some of the non-verbal things. We got vocal tone, pitch. You know, that's how loud you're talking. You know what I mean? We talk about them things. Facial expression, eye contact, verbal and non-verbal. We got those things as real important things to identify with non-verbal communication. So in terms of barriers to communication, any of the kids there, anybody can identify some of the things that slow us down in terms of getting effective communication across? Like background. I know when I first come to Naya Bingi, one of the energies that I see us dealing with a lot is you been to school and I been to school. Anybody experience things like that? I mean, we gotta put it out there on the table if we can deal with it. You know what I mean? You speak clear to me, or you this and that, all these little different things that related to your background. You can't have these things. These are where you come from. But we may be trying to push the same goal, but we push it in a different way, and we run into conflict. Serious conflict too. Conflict that may lead to blows. And these are things that effective communication can bring, you can iron out. So, you know, Honorable Judge Jonathan, Honorable Judge Jonathan, pardon me everybody, my apologies. Honorable Judge Jonathan expressed something last night that I thought the eye was dread, and I know if you know how right on point you hit the nails, right? But you say, purging, right? You say ones and ones need purging. And one of the things that I discovered in the research for this is there's something in Uganda called Mato Opun. It's a system of restorative justice. It's essentially what we discuss in one of our conflict resolution meetings. But it's actually something that's really ancient and organized and is led by the elders. But the key thing about this particular form of conflict resolution that's different from what we used to here in the West is responsibility. You see what I said? And Mato Oto actually means, because you say Persian, you say the man who got to drink the olive, drink the bitters. And Mato Oto actually means to drink from the bitter tree, my Lord. See what I said? So nail on the head. See what I said? A lot of the times we have spiritual things we fight, but the physical cleanse can help us, right? They help flush out all of the things in our body and hold us back mentally. So the theme of this whole restorative justice process, and I want everybody to remember this phrase, restorative justice. The Western European what they just be dealing with is this secretive thing. You go stand in front of the judge, you ain't really gotta look at the people who you do it to, you ain't gotta say nothing to them, they lock you up, that's that. You go in, you come out and everything, you know what I mean? There's no owning up for your responsibility. You pay a debt to society, but not to the people who you with. Right? And you don't even pay a debt to society because you're getting put away from society, don't do nothing for you in that sense, unless it's building you with education and worship, not just to sit there and suffer. See what I'm trying to say? So, the European justice system, we know the way, we know it's a setup. There's an African way that we always had, and we've been practicing it, is restorative justice. And I want us to have it at the tip of our tongues as we go forward this year and deal with these conflicts that we're dealing with. Motto open, drink of the bitter tree. I paraphrase it, but essentially been drinking at the bitter tree. Yes, I could read it something, man, because this was so beautiful. And then so I was just line up with things, the eyes, man, it was dread. There we go. It's I can pronounce it for the idol. Mato oput, drinking the bitter herb. So I'll read it. Certain things that are very important when you're dealing with it. It's a Acholi vernacular, meaning drinking the bitter herb of the oput tree. Because it ends in a significant ceremony of Mato Oput, where everybody, the two persons would be drinking of this tree. It's in the calabash bowl. Right. It's not a happy ceremony. The mood of all present expresses the seriousness of the occasion. The process involves the guilty acknowledging responsibility, the guilty repenting, the guilty asking for forgiveness, the guilty paying compensation. None of that really just happened in the Western system. You just get locked up. The guilty being reconciled with the victim's family through sharing the bitter drink. And that's what Matawa really is the present, what that phrase means. The bitter drink has no medical effect. I don't know, I have a feeling that it does. Just through, I know that's what bitters do. Every tree has something for you. I believe there's something was slipping there through the scholarly research, but I believe it wouldn't be drinking if it didn't have some negative effect, just like with the eye express. That was that. Okay. It only symbolizes the psychological bitterness that prevailed in the minds of the parties in conflict. It covers offenses across the board. Let me tell you how they're actually using this. And it's arguable whether it's effective with, like the NGO and the US government and all of this analyze how I can say if it's effective, but this is how they're using it. Soldiers that did egregious acts, raping, murdering, in the continent where we're dealing with these serious things that in big numbers, right? These soldiers now get integrated back into the community. And there's a lot of wounds, you know what I mean? You killed my brother, you raped my sister. So now you want to talk, but you want to build your life back together. So this system, there was a legend that there was nothing working to fix the situation, nothing was working to bring peace. Except when they start doing this ancient system. When man get to own up, pay. Actually, a big part of it is restitution. And that's actually owning up for what you did and paying. It may not be, in Africa, the European system is money. In our case, it might be skills, food. You know what I mean? But if we're in the Western system, it may turn out to be money. So I say, but that's essentially a big chunk of it. And so the soldiers actually, you have to meet these parents, own up for what they did, genuinely feel that they want to make amends for their wrongdoing. And that's where the European like to critique it there. Because the European, how do you know it's genuine? You know what I mean? But the elders sitting in front of you know if that's genuine. Because you ain't doing this without a group of elders. With all of them there, you can double check things. You see what I said? So we have a system for dealing with these things. You know what I mean? Because you could have a lawyer that's ingenuine, like they do, and lock people up who are innocent. So every system will have a flaw where humans get to interact with it. You see what I'm trying to say? So I say let's go back to the ancient system that's been working for thousands and millions of years that we've been using. Cool. I can read one last little thing before I wrap up. Because there's also another expression of the things that we want to look for as we reason with one another in these conflict resolution situations. Because the conflict resolution may not be a big one where you're on the fort and there's 7 elders and everybody sitting down. It might just be me and a brethren and a sister and reasoning, and we run into conflict and we have to now know how to move forward with sincerity, or we may have to go to somebody or elder. It may just be an elder day or something like that. It may not be a big community thing, but nonetheless, in our personal issues, we're dealing with our family at home, our sisters, our brethren, Rasta, non-Rasta, it don't matter. These things are actually effective. And I can read this here because I just like the way it's said here. The traditional Acholi culture, this is Uganda, views justice as a means of restoring social relations, not just punishment, right? Because that's what we grew up as punishment. In other words, justice in the traditional Acholi culture should be considered restorative. The wounds of war will be healed if the Acholi practice their traditional guiding principles. I think we can take out the wounds of war and put the wounds. There's a lot of different wounds we're dealing with. He pointed out, the chief pointed out the following guiding principles. And I already said some earlier, right? But these are another few. Do not be a troublemaker. Respect. Sincerity. I think sincerity is a big one. A lot of times we just trying to win the argument. You know what I mean? Do not steal. Reconciliation and harmony and forgiveness. Yes, sir.
That's enough.
All right. Yeah. Right.
more. Just want to finish charging. Please charge your mind. Come on.
Aliyah, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Yeah, just saying like true youth is the future, right? So more time, like all I have as adults, elders, I am basically the know right from wrong. Just believe it. Any society do what I need to do. Because I say, sometimes I need to step up. More time I need to pay attention to the youth them, right? Be very impressionable, like sponges and even through like a couple times I come to meetings and use them to play it or having their own reason, like just now it's coming to a reason and I say what their reason on ain't important. But certain things, at least everything right here in your doctrine speak on these things with if we train up our children in the village within the mistakes that I ain't making, passing through, instead of passing through, you know what I mean? Through enough ego, enough things we go, we see, and we adopt, and it's Rasta, think of purging, we're still on the journey of purging these things of angry depression that we get saying. When the youth them, we get, whatever we're going to say, we have no passion. Even a child is known by the Lord. Proverbs 20 verse 11. Even a child is known by their doings. Whether the way is pure or whether it be right. I just said that so we can just keep our children in line and observing what's happening. Because when they're inside school, this ain't like an American school and the teacher talking and the children trip, they can do all kind of things like they see on TV. When they go to school, they're sitting down. They listen to all the punishment or whatever. They listen to all kinds of things. It's Bobby Brown foolishness. I call it new Veterans Day. Just right over whatever they make. Because it's about the heights of Rastafari life. In general, you have to make sure you can get some short. You can let them watch the cartoon. They play a game. It's like a game. They play a cartoon. They play same book we reading, we want to check the same book. Amen. So we can say the end was not, I guess, what we take things we know, and if you do it, take that. We just got to teach our children to be more this week. Passing the baton on to like Jack Andrew. Same. So let's make sure. Here they go to Bible and drink, other people and things. Make sure that just keep in mind with everything that goes right. Even in the future, we have to protect them. We are most precious asset in mind, vulnerable, and never let them watch no cartoon. Of course, I'm going to take them to school. Aliyah, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari.
I give thanks for bringing it out of our grand step. Appreciate the attention, appreciate the time and step. I can close off, but there's one thing that I want to say to the brethren again, that joining into the reason and you ask around and your reason wants to figure out how best to present this. And one of the things again that I thought was really important is how we talk to one another. I supposed to be able to see the king and the queen, I Selassie and Empress men in each and every one of us, right? That's what we learned, right? So yeah, I'm going to talk to the queen, to the Empress men, now you always talk to the Empress. You will talk to the king, I used to talk to your brethren, any of us. If the king was here, you talk to him like that? Real talk. Would you? Answer that within yourself. Because if you wouldn't, then you know the way we reason with each other ain't right. And it ain't gonna bring nothing progressive. I hear man them say be burning fire and all of these type of things. It's dread, right? But you gotta do them things and recognize that you have respect. I can give this example. Princess Aliyah helped me learn this lesson. Right? They say your daughters are soft and you're still. I was doing homework with Aliyah, and she was having a little trouble with it, right? And I started getting frustrated. And I ain't gonna lie, I really thought she was faking. You know what I mean? Like, she just don't do her homework. Let me just over and over. This is how she can. What's going on? You know what I mean? And then I noticed as I get more at it, she was tearing up. I didn't cry because I didn't get that serious, but nonetheless, she wanted to get it right so bad. You know what I mean? It's a lie, she's scared, right? So I didn't feel bad. I said to myself, she ain't faking. That's just where she at. No matter how fiery I did come with her, I did like somewhere send on a beat and go in the room, get this way till you get it. They're gonna do all of that. None of that would have been effective. I actually would have destroyed our relationship without coming to me to do homework and feeling comfortable letting me know that she had been trouble with something. So I say that to say, as we reason with our brothers and our sisters, sometimes you just gotta say something been true. I say mince your words. Say something like you're talking to the king. And then let the king go sit on that. And the king will come back to you tomorrow with a clear conscience if he's sincere. Indeed, like those other things, with sincerity, not trying to be a troublemaker, all these other things, right? If they truly have their things in their heart, which is what we reason and want to be working towards, they'll come back. But once you let this man and care you mother this and all of that, you need to coming back to you to tell you was right. So far, I can leave on that note still. I give thanks for the time, and I appreciate the item love and you know what I mean, and airs. Rastafari.
My Lord. Reasoning of the heart, reasoning to enlighten power, reasoning to put on I that ultimate challenge of being responsible. We are brothers and sisters keepers. So, in terms of our tradition, it must be a privilege that we should seek to achieve. Being so much that responsible, first and foremost, to the Almighty, to an NII fellow mankind, who are all spiritual kinsmen from the Almighty. No matter how unique and peculiar we as Ethiopians are, we are still bounded by our spiritual IBI. We're supposed to have a little entertainment here from Jamal, but he isn't there. If anyone would like to entertain the crowd, you'd be free to for a moment. But the Empress was going to say something on communication. In the meantime, I'm going to read the King's responsibility. Empress. Empress. No, don't be smart. Yeah, that one. Maybe you turning around looking at someone else who ain't there about you. No, I just know that. I just say this is the position you put me in. I as much desire many things. Then the doctrine talk of responsibility. But as an individual desire duty and responsibility, desire property. In our growth in the house of Rastafari, we are one global thing. We have been of more value than I had any success one may look for. What it has done is made us grown stronger and bound us closer to being that much more strong. Like Chairman of the Voice I said, there's a lot of room for us to talk. But let's talk properly. Let's communicate properly. Let's be on the principle of the heights that we want to be as Ethiopians. Because it's our responsibility, it's our privilege. When we look at the youth in our times, you all came here and did. And when I look again at I themselves, we see ourselves, some of us growing warrior, brave. Then I recognize that we were bounded for fight. when we reach the endurance test, we see that we still grow up and become one. So there's no escaping us and our humanity towards each other. We are responsible. It is a gift and a privilege. And yeah, Rastafari. Now, my brethren Marcus would like to have the floor. So, as the king in this house. King will take.
Yeah, Rastafari. Give thanks and praise for the night, give thanks for everyone who come out the second night, Give thanks for the youth staff, give thanks for the brethren staff for the EABIC, give thanks for my brethren here too, give thanks. Give thanks for everyone, Yeah, true, the night is about communication and relationship. Like, I ain't on the agenda for the night, but I would like to just add a little view on relationship and communication. Rastafari. I go first open up with like a Psalms, you know what I mean? Yeah, true, Yeah, this is read Psalms. This one of the Psalms I like, This even deal with like in the same way deal with communication, relationship, everyone know the Psalms, so who I know if you all can say it together, Aliyah, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, Psalms 133, For behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren and sisters to dwell together in unity. For it's like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down iron bed, even iron bed that went down the skates of iron garment. At the door of Haman, and at the door ascended upon the mountain of Zion. For them by the eyes, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, Holy Emmanuel eyes, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, command the blessed, even life forevermore, So we give thanks, for the unity, because even the word alone would dwell within I show I that it's a joy for when I could come together and dwell in unity, the pure love, like a harmony, Yeah, because that's what it's all about in far, you know what I mean? And that's Rastafari. We know that 3 years, it being the differences, I wouldn't say that I don't have a oneness, or I don't have this love, but I'll say true oppression, in Babylon, because like my brother like to say, to see I home, you know what I mean? To see I in the city and find night. You see, I have to live with the city and building our community, do farming and, do the things of nature, what is part of our night. But true, we live in this, what man will call like this tenement yard, these Babylon communities, and you say, saying about they like systematical laws, so it's oppression, you know what I mean? You gotta put your youths in the grade school and you gotta have a job to pay your apartment, and you say, so it's oppression sometimes. Oppression causes us can't like relate with one another, So yeah, man, we have to just live out these things, and just hear Rastafari, But like not an excuse, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, we just gotta learn just communicate more and like take the bad with the good, because just get part of the bad is with the victory. Now through the process, I did a lot. Quite up with I had differences with my brethren and sisters within the truck, but I ain't show me that I should share my love, because for I teach and I have a true words sound of power, like just say soft answer turn every rock. So that's where we have the word within I we try to dwell within the word. Like to my meditation, I see that. Who could agree that? You all agree that the Spirit is the Word? You all agree that that's the Word? So I would say that if I say that we meditate on your Word, which is your Irat, the eyes and being given say Irat, if we meditate on your Irat, which is the right Irat, I would say that then we would have no other choice than to communicate uprightly with one another. You see what I say? I see. So what we have to do is to build far right. We have to make the sacrifice, man, to share our love, because it ain't about I ain't, we're looking at all these youths them the other day, right? And I try to build my youths them in the right way and far right, because then we represent a nation, you know what I mean? That's why we stand Democracy reign. Democracy means a government handed down by His Majesty. But I try to deal with the youths in the right way. You see what I say, and represent my youths as I would like to deal with any other youths them or see any other youths them go within the right and far right. You see what I say, and to know the truth, the I see, to know what they pray for us. You see what I say? So we have to look at it that this ain't just about I and I them. The I see, this about I and I youths them. The youths who are here and the youths them to come. Yeah, I see. So when we deal with one another, we have to try always to keep the balance, man, keep the love, man, and just don't talk it, just try live it. You see what I said? I'm fully, man, because that what born I and I, you see what I said? And we have to try, like when I come in the truck, I know about the item, but I learn more times that I and I should learn to respect each another personality and each another opinions. And that will be difficult because right now, right, like within the truck, most of the problems is be like dogma. You see what I said? Like we have problems within our different mansions about, alright, past tense, it used to be like what fly up, what fly down. You see what I said? Who is this way or who is that way? You see what I said? But we have to put aside these things and know that true Rastafari, it's just one way, man. It's Majesty way, Jah way, the right way. You see what I said? And because whether you is Rastafari, Bobo, Baby, all that's praise one Father. You see what I said? All that's represented by King Alpha, Queen Omega. You see what I said? So we have to know that if we can say that we represent our father and mother, then we have to represent them fully. You see what I said? Like righteously. You see what I said? We can't just have these differences amongst ourselves and say that we're Rasta when we know that dying about Rasta. That I see? Like coming together. We have organizations what could pull our together, what could help us to build for our development, because these things would be able to look at as a people. Yeah, I see? And communicate is a part of all these things, because if we don't have the right communication with each another, then how could we work together in a collective to say for our collective security to better ourselves? Yeah, I see? So all this is what we have to learn to do. See His Majesty, through from my experience and my knowledge, during the war in Ethiopia, and when Malaysia had left for Ethiopia and going into Europe, the IC, and going forward there, and he stayed in exile for 5 years. That teaches Majesty that when he went forward to Ethiopia and after the victory, he going forward, he decided that, you know what, we have to build our own black empowerment. The IC, we have to build our own, collective security for our surety. So he formed the Organization of African Unity. Yeah, I know he, through His Majesty, through diligence and through right communication and through not giving up on a brother or a sister who had differences, even with Ethiopia or with one another. His Majesty, he went forward and bring a unity, the IC, among these other nations, so that Ethiopia could come together to a collective, the IC, to put aside many differences, the IC. So that's what we have to learn to do. We have to follow His Majesty, pardon the King's highway, as I said, yeah, man, so that we can learn to put aside our differences and work together for the betterment of INI, the IC. Because right now, as Rastafari, who could show me what we really own as a people in Rastafari? The IC. Any one of the items can show me a resources or a certain development owned by Rastafari in the Bahamas right now? The IMC. So this is a big part of communication. We say we have to come together, we have to learn how we have to come together as a people, we have to put aside this petty differences as always Bobo, as Bingy, always 12 tribes, as Kings of Kings, as Hebrew, as Daisy. We have to just come together as Rastafari for the betterment of black empowerment. Yeah, I see? Because if we don't do it now, then when we can do it? Yeah, I see? So if we can talk and we can gentlemen I said we could talk and we could try like spend all us energy and our effort in trying to hate on one another or help one another. And just try to pull in the right direction and try to see like how we could build up something for Rastafari. Put the energy to a good cause. You see what I said? And in relationship, try to speak a relationship too. It ain't easy in relationship, you know, because true, not finding a queen and not the queen of king. And enough times, you know, like being someone is I don't wake up all the time, Irie, you know, yeah, boy, that's raise up the praise Jah, you know, give Jah the praise. Someone like Bob say you wake up feeling blue, you know what I mean? So I say to say, in every day could be a good day. Some days you and your queen might have up and down. But then that's an important part about in relationship communication. You have to know how to communicate with one another. You see what I say? You have to know how to judgment, like overstand each another, because these the things will help us to overstand another. The I see out of ones who we really say, because Bible teach us to care for those who right there. You see what I say? Rastafari teach us to care for everyone. Yeah, I am saying. So when we with our queen and we have a differences, we have to learn to wake it out. Because enough times we get the youths them watching, you know. And sometimes like I learned this from experience. Youth them and everyone that is youth them can do what you tell them to don't do. They can do what they see. You see what I said? So we have to know how to deal with our relationship and our communication in a positive. Now I say, yeah, one, try like put your emphasis aside and say, look, yeah, you know what? If something she did and you didn't really agree with that, sure, man, but you know I didn't like that, and you know, but this is the reason why. And you know what I mean? It ain't easy, but then you have to try. Again, but then you know, like Troy was a young rebel, you know. Young one, I really didn't know how to communicate with female gender, like, you know, oneness when you get angry, you see what I said. But true, give thanks for my empress right here. I know Empress Philippa, young man, she true reason it, young man, true like, she have a different agenda, you see. So, I know she like a balance, so she helped to show me now, but okay, but you can't always get on and think that can solve the problem. You see me? Yeah, because Yahweh ain't always the right way. So we learn to reason and deal with our problems, and then that helped me now also with brethren and people who I come in relationship with or communication with or, you see what I said? Because now I learned that when they even put me in a rage or put me in a rape, then I can know, yeah man, soft answer there the way around or learn how to just take that one and, you know what I mean? So, like I say, right, with relationship and communication, we as a people, yeah man, I know we get an I and you see what I said, because if we didn't have an I wouldn't be here right now to see the development and the betterment far right now, you see what I said? So right now, I'd say that, yeah man, I think that we have a better and I think that once we work on it, we can get it there. And what we have to encourage, right? Because this is a big problem too. Like, once talk with us, the elders them talk with us, because this comes from the elders them time. You know, plenty things happen from the elders them time. But really like come upon I ain't them time and I ain't really, I know we still like how I say filling in the gaps, you know what I mean? It's a generation gap, you know? So we have to give thanks for the elders them still, you know, everyone give the elders them a round of applause, you know what I mean? Because they come to the struggle still, you know. I, the last Jah, Rastafari, you know? And within saying that, young man, I gotta say that, young man, too, without many times, like you are a sister or a brother, like within the church, you know? Enough times they downtrodden, they separated and different things. But I mean, the things, but you can't wake up. The IC, because who you put together, no man gas a son, no gas a son, no man put together, we know you work. But then now, that too, we have to know that now that sometimes we can't see China and be kind of minded and fleshy as a people. So what we have to do is now that we have to know how to culture people in the right culture, you know what I mean? Like that's why we have this night where we talk about rites of passage. The IC, because just like taking you things with where you have a rites of passage where you teach your youth them how to grow and how to go the way they should go to the right way. So within that, we should also learn how to, we should be more positive role models, you know what I mean? that I see within our life and our growth and our surroundings. You see they saying? Be more encouraging. That I see? Yeah man, we shouldn't be more like I would just say can't get design and the kind of mind. Nah, I ain't touching nothing on no yes talking on different things what we talk about because that's why we here. We here to sort out problems, sis, within amongst ourselves and to talk about the situation so that it can move forward to a betterment because if you don't recognize the problem within yourself, then how can you correct it? Agree? Yeah, I see? So we have to recognize things where we know that this is our weakness, this would hold in it, so that we can correct it because that's how we move. Besides saying, people them say, look at the people in Africa, look at this be naked and they didn't wear that, look at this, but truth is that's how the culture is, the ICI. We as a natural people, we don't move carnal and fleshy. You see what I say? I know we just live in this love, because true, if you don't know love, then you ain't no job. How could you love far eye and don't love near eye? Yeah, I am saying. So, yeah man, so all this is important. I as a people, we have to know how to correct certain situation and be a brotherly love through guidance and through counseling through the right way, you know. Yeah man, try and nourish your family because that's what it is. It's a community of people who live together, who eat together, who pray together. You say, and we come together. Yeah, I see, we talk about the African way, we talk about how in solving problems, we have the elders in the community come together and they have a reasoning or intervention on problems, issues, and different things. Where one could solve the problems, and this one hate one, that one could come together. See, these things when we have the full taken. You see, they say, we don't say partake as Babylon and words, we abandon them, you know. We have the full taken these things. You see, they say, because that's what can build us as a people. Yeah, I see. If we say we as African, we have to learn our African way. You say, we have to learn our language. You say, the food we eat. I see we have to strengthen ourselves and all these things. And these keep us positive in our brethren. But enough of these things with Babylon creating these stores and then they break us down. You know what I'm saying? So enough times, yeah, man, these to be what we have to learn as a people, as who we say we are, Rastafari, Ethiopians. We have to learn our way of life. The IC and live it to the fullest. The IMC, IDI, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Yeah man, so like I said, yeah man, we have to give thanks for the Empress and the Queen. Yeah man, treat them in love. Yeah, with understanding. Bless the youths them. Treat them in love and understanding. Yeah, I see. So that we can move forward as a people and try be positive, you know what I mean? Show your brothers some love. Understanding, yeah, I see, because sometimes all us go through differences. Sometimes we don't have good days. I know we have bad days, I see. But I'm understanding, usually they say, yeah man, feel on the brother and know that, yeah, okay, my brother might have a bad day, but you know, I can let this one slide. And probably later you gotta address that, you know what I mean? But understand, you know what I mean? Yeah man, that's how we can work together and better ourselves still as a people still, you know? Yeah, and then just say more times, if you have a problem, you can't just keep things deep down. Yeah, I know, and just say, oh yeah man, or I forgive you. Or yeah man, that day everything cool, but deep down you know that everything ain't cool. You see me? So we have to be honest with ourselves, man. Yeah, I see, if we say that everything is love and we forgive one another, or we let bygones be bygones, then yeah man, we have to know that, yeah, well, your way is your way. And I ain't represent your way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah man, so all the things is I you know, we making a sacrifice, you know? Yeah, I see. So that the love and understanding and far right will just move through, you know, and then the Babylonians, the people within the system, we wouldn't just call them Babylonians, but our other hydrant and systems, yeah, they can understand and see the love of far right, you see they say. And see the positive message which far right you bring. You see they say the awakening, the item say. So give thanks and praise for the item, the listening, and give thanks for understanding. And sure you know that young man, I never try wait out situations one and yourself. And try, you know, young man just share the love, you know. IDI, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Before I go right, anybody have any questions on what I was saying, or anybody have anything they'd like to ask, or you know, you had input on anything? Yeah, that was it. Alright then, Aliyah, Selassie, Jah.
That's a lot of numbers. That's a 20%. More times I just wanted to say, far right, there is no segregation. Once I and I grew up in the same boat, there's no segregation. I'm God, money, one less. All I am here on this journey again. All I am is being oppressed by this all I am being shut down, and slaughtered. We cannot fight amongst ourselves. If we fight amongst ourselves, we have segregation amongst ourselves. I think this is like the problem with people. The problem with all. Aliyah? All I am is one thing. All I am is patient. We need to fight. Each one help. How it is in these times, there's no time to snow. No time to target. Because the enemy ain't target. They moving swiftly and they getting fast with that. We have to do the same. We have to put one for the head and not for the head. So all I know to do is place oil, place food, place weight, stuff. We have to love each other. God love us. God teach us how to love. Teach us to pray for God. Pray for God there is nothing. We should have hope help in these times. Because with faith, courage, just cause, this 20th century, David shall still be alive. Last year, Jah, Rastafari. God. That's it.
Sound, word, sound, power. Aliyah, I would like for Nigel to come forward and make an announcement to the attendees before I give my announcement. Thank you. Close of the ceremony. Rastafari, Bristol, come forward. We have to speak about, I would allow him to be free to say it. I think it's important that even if we get settled it now, the eyes will be open like Aliyah.
Blessed be God forever. Aliyah. Giving thanks and praise to the Most High Creator God for unity that's among our brethren here. For how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Even more precious than the oil that one Aaron said, the peace and the love that we feel among ourselves. Through the powers of the Most High, and through the blessings that the prophet over yonder did. You know, I lived in the United States for a few years and have a pain issue that I was prescribed medical. I mean, different types of pain pills and so forth that was damaging to my health and hazardous to my health after a while. Having been in California, I was prescribed